Alright, welcome back to building a WRX wagon. We are on part 5 today, and today we're going to do some prep work. We're going to rip these out of the plastic, get everything degreased, and get everything ready so that we can paint these and get them all to the desired color that the owner would like to have them in. So obviously this is not all the parts. We've still got a few parts over here that we've still got to strip down and get ready to go, but I mean there are some labor intensity here that we have to take all this apart, set it all aside so that we can break this down. And then the plastic is not treated like the metal. This metal will have to be all stripped down to the metal itself before we can even prep it, seal it, and get it ready for paint. But the plastic itself will then have to be, we'll have to degrease it, get all cleaned, and then you will not sand this plastic. We'll use an actual plastic adhesion promoter, and then we'll be able to apply any kind of paint product to it. So, with that said, stay tuned. Alright, so today it's going to be Tyler's project to break all this down and get it all ready. He's going to basically just break it all down like I've explained. He's going to get everything degreased, and then he'll take the stripping disc here. These are pretty nice because they're very low abrasion and they don't tend to cut into the soft aluminum, so it's really nice just to basically use it as a stripping disc, and that's what they are. They're stripping discs. So we're going to go over the aluminum here also as well. We're going to have to remove the cap, remove the hose, run some tape on it so that we don't get any debris and particles on the inside. And then Tyler here will run the stripping disc over the entire surface, get all of this aluminum clean. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking to remove all of that paint because it's chipping. It's obviously it's garbage, it's crap. So, and it definitely was not applied correctly, as you can see. So I mean, this literally has not been ran. It's just been sitting for about 5 years, and that is what has happened to it. So imagine if you actually ran it. I imagine it would have ended up in this state a lot faster. So he's going to go ahead, he's going to take out the valve cover gaskets, he'll strip everything down, and then we'll go ahead and move from there. Alright, so he's going to use the Subaru Concentrate Degreaser. You can get this at any local dealership. It's pretty nice. It's only like $10 a bottle. It's really powerful. If you haven't seen from my previous videos, I really love this stuff. I tend to use it a lot because this one bottle can make 20 bottles if you dilute it. I don't. It's strong, so we'll just use it. For now, he's going to go ahead and he's going to pull off these plastic parts, these vents here, just because they were spray painted and they're supposed to be black and not spray painted white. And not just that, it's not the actual part of the valve cover. We're looking at two parts bolted together. So we're going to break this down in the proper fashion, do it the right way, and make sure everything is done correct. I mean, they even, you can see they even painted the gasket in between the actual vent and the valve cover. Pretty smart. So with that said, we're going to do this right, at least try to. Alright, with the top vents all removed, you can see all the crap that's all inside here. So obviously they're definitely going to have to be cleaned out. So I think before we actually hit it with this degreaser and make sure it's all right, we'll probably hit it with some brake cleaner, parts cleaner, and see if we can get majority of it off, just so we're not using so much of the concentrate. And then we'll use the concentrate to make sure we got it all right, and then we'll blow it all out with the air compressor here. And obviously 120 psi through this valve cover will blow any kind of contaminant out of it. Alright, so Tyler had to bounce, so it looks like I am going to have to take over from here and get this done. But before he left, he actually got everything cleaned. Everything's all been degreased and wiped down all by hand in each crevice and corner, so I know there won't be any kind of cross-contamination with oil and particles and whatnot. So he went ahead, he started taping here. I'm going to go ahead and finish the job, and then I can go ahead and move on to the stripping disc. Alright, well, I've got into it a little bit, and just taking off the top layer, you get into this primer surface that's actually underneath. I didn't think that they did use a primer, but whatever they used is really cheap nonsense because it's only doing it, it's just gumming up my actual abrasive tool here, and it's not allowing me to strip it in a fast fashion because whatever they used did not harden. It's garbage material. I'm sure it's some cheap bullshit that they got off the shelf at Walmart. Alright, so I've got everything breaking down as much as the machine will allow me to do so, and went through a couple wheels on doing it, just for the sheer fact that whatever they use to apply down onto the bare aluminum itself gummed up, and it's really hard to get off. I'm not even really sure what it is, but it's just gumming it up, whether they use some kind of epoxy sealer possibly and they just didn't apply enough hardener, or maybe they just put hardener in it and didn't realize that they were supposed to reduce it, because a lot of times that will happen. It will gum up like this if you don't reduce it out. But yeah, it sucks. I gotta do this other one, and this right here, that was an hour of my life. So I think I'm really gonna do, yeah, this is more appealing. Let's do this. Damn, now that means I gotta do this. Alright, so it is another day. I ended up getting the other valve cover done, obviously, and it kicked my ass, and I really hope I don't have to face that when I take apart this intake manifold. It's actually going to probably end up irritating me if I do come across the same issue that I did with these valve covers, because that just took way too long, and I've still got to go around a lot of these edges and whatnot with all of my hands and with my fingers, and get all the sandpaper in there, make sure this is all feathered out correctly. You see any white and whatnot, I don't want that on there. That's going to be probably a good cross-contamination product, and it's probably going to lift my paint or cause some kind of curdling because it's possibly too aggressive, because there's still solvents in it, because it didn't cure. So yeah, that's my rant for the day. I hate when I come across shit like this. I have no problem putting stuff like this together and helping out people, but when I come across things like the harness is inside the manifold, but up between this TGV and this manifold, so even if we weren't even painting this, we couldn't even use this. I got to take this whole thing apart just so I could do this right, which is ridiculous. I mean, it's been pretty much this entire build for this car. For this blue WRX wagon, I don't know who touched it. I hope they never touch cars ever again. Whoever did it, don't do this. Like I hate that this, my uploads turn into a rant, but I'm at that point where this car is really irritating, because every time I go to work on it, it's always time consuming because it's always something dumb. So it's some amateur hour basically. So I'm tired of the amateur hour, which is literally the main reason why I have this channel. A lot of the times it's probably not as entertaining as other channels, but at least you're getting the facts. Mainly because I have nothing to hide, and that's why I vlog as much as I can. So you can see exactly what's going on, why I do it, and how I do it. It's really that simplistic. It doesn't get any simpler than that. So that's why I reiterate why I do the channel the way I do. Now, I'd like to focus on other things as well later on down the road. I was actually just talking to a friend of mine about actually expanding the channel and doing other things, such as driving and going to events and whatnot, rather than a lot of these builds and how-tos and the shop life type deal. So with that said, that's probably something that I'm going to be looking forward to doing, and it's probably definitely going to be coming up shortly within the next month or so. I'm looking to just basically invest in this channel and just kind of express myself a little more than what I am now. I feel like right now I'm kind of just subjected to doing what I'm doing now, and I'd like to be able to branch off and do other things and kind of return back to who I am and just make myself happy type deal. Because if I'm not happy, I'm not gonna fucking come in here and do anything. So that's just the way it is. So that's what I've got to do. Again, there's only one person that can make you happy, and that's the person you see in the mirror. So nobody's going to make you happy. Nobody's going to do these things for you. So that's why, again, I have this channel. I want to teach others so that you have the motivation to go out and do it, but do it the right way so that you don't have to do it again. Nobody wants to do their job again. So right now, Sorry about that rant and that life lesson type deal. Today is just, it must be in the air. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to kind of feed off of my energy right now and just going to use it. I'm going to get some work done today. I need to bust down that intake manifold. Like I stated, there's a harness that is sandwiched in between the TGV and the manifold, so I got to take that apart, set the harness off to the side, and then I can start breaking down the intake manifold, such so. That's basically what's going to go down.
Alright, so first things first is we're going to have to go. Yep, that's what it's like when Bill fumbles. First things first, gonna have to take off this intake manifold and separate it from the TGVs themselves. That way I can pull it all away, especially I can get that harness out. If you guys haven't seen what I'm talking about the harness, you can either go back to my channel or actually I'll put it right here in the corner for you. That's what it looks like right now. Pretty nice, right? So that's why I get a little irritated sometimes, and I feel like I don't get to really show it as much because I try to, kill people with kindness type deal, and I really try to just treat people like I want to be treated myself, and that's really the goal that I try to just kind of convey to others and whatnot. But that's basically how I give it off. But don't take my kindness for weakness type deal. I can only do so much. It is what it is type deal. We'll just take this car for instance that I'm working on now. So I agreed that I would do the work for this car. I'd put it all together and trade for a blown up Legacy 5-speed Obsidian Black Legacy. It's a GT, it's a turbo model, but of course it's got the 255 curse in it, and it's gone, so it got either rod knock or something, who knows. It's one of those things where I got all the parts for it. I got the shell of the car, it's a roller. I haven't received the title yet. It's just, I'll get that when this car is done. But it's one of those things where every time I thought I was going to see the finish line with this thing, I would come across something else on it. And that has just become a nightmare lately. And finding time to work on it, because I should have been done with it a while ago. But every time I work on it, I find some kind of discrepancy that I have to schedule for. And I don't have that time. I've got other things that I already have scheduled that people have already gotten here before this car. And trust me, I must convey, I am doing a trade, a barter. This car isn't going to pay my bills. It sure as shit isn't going to keep my lights on, So doing something like this, I can't just work on it all day long. Like right now, it's 5 p.m. at night. It's time for me to go home type deal and hang out with the family, do my family time. But I can't because I've got to work on this because this car's got to get done. A, because I'm tired of looking at it. And B, I'm tired of coming across stuff that needs to be fixed that I didn't even agree upon doing. But because I'm a nice guy, I'm doing it. And, it was supposed to be just an elegant, simple, hey man, I got a bunch of parts, put it back together. It got blown apart, I just need it put back together. And it's not even close to being one of those jobs at all. It's one of those things where you go to put something back together and then you realize that it's so bad that you got to take it all back apart and then redo it, and then you get into it and you find even more discrepancies. And it's just kind of dumb, but what are you gonna do? I work with it. I try to get it done. I try to treat people like I want to be treated. Yeah, I knew that was gonna happen. That harness just snapped. There's the plug for it right there. It's still stuck in the middle. Stuck to that gasket actually. So I'm gonna have to clean this TGV because there's copper mashed. You can kind of see it, I guess. It's right there. Copper's mashed into the TGV here.
So I'm gonna continue working with this. You know, I get it done. It's inevitable to, it's gonna happen. You know, I'm focused, I've got drive, I've got passion, especially when it comes to these Subarus. And also, you know, they're special cars to me. I used to be a Mitsubishi guy, and one of the main reasons why I swapped over was I got tired of losing. So I used to have a Mitsubishi Eclipse, a 92, before I moved here to the Binghamton area. And it was 400 horsepower to the wheels, dyno tuned, by a company, of course, that doesn't exist anymore. You know, because guys, we're a dying breed. Apparently, you can open a business for a year or two, but then they start to just take people's money and they don't do the work. Or they do the work and it's really bad. And even I had a bad experience with the company that I'm talking about. But they no longer exist, so there's no reason to tell you who they were. But long story short, it was a bad to the bone car for a 93 octane car. I drove it for 5 years, 32 PSI daily, FP green. It was a pretty nice little turbo. It wasn't the biggest, but definitely wasn't the smallest. And it hit really hard. And for some guys that actually know anything about 4G63s, that it's a very solid engine. So it can take a lot of abuse. Transmission, not so much. So my transmission was built. I had a it was a VR4, longer, taller first gear. For you guys that aren't familiar with a VR4, it's a Galant, all-wheel drive Galant. Came with the 4G63 also as well. Pulled the first gear from that because it was longer and taller. Dual synchros in second, dual synchros in third, and then brand new fourth and fifth gear. And they also did the work as well. The reason why I had a bad fallout with them is because of a tuning issue. They tuned the car for way too much horsepower. And because of that, it wasn't going to be a good daily. So I had to deal with them, and the rest is history. I no longer have that car. I mean, it was super fast, but it wasn't anything that I was happy with. You know, anybody who's ever drove a first gen Eclipse or a first gen Talon or a Laser, you get the car, you love the car, you drive the car. It's fast, man. It's fast, but it's not nice. It's not the nicest thing on the road. You know, you almost have to be humble to kind of drive the damn thing. I don't know, I kind of like the loud cars and whatnot, and it was at that point where I just had the car for so long, I got tired of it. And I traded it off, got rid of it, and ended up moving it down here. We're here, we're happy now. The rest is history. There you go, you can see the gasket actually got ruined also as well, so he's going to need a new gasket. And then I'm going to have to go around and deck the top of these TGVs, because it is like... I guess it's not that bad. Okay, good deal. Woo woo. Yeah, it looks worse than what it was, but the gasket itself, that is embedded in. I can't get that off. So it's gonna need a new TGV gasket. Other than that, you know, I have to get some new gaskets. Let me see, I pulled this off. Where we at? Where's that? This one's stuck. Okay. Oh boy. Paint all over it. Jeez. They painted the freaking gasket surface. And then they put a... See, this is the shit I'm talking about. Like, that was a good gasket. There ain't nothing wrong with that. You know, and then I can't clean it. It's paper. It's garbage. So now I gotta deck this flat, get all of that paint off. Same thing here. And then I could put some tape on it.
so I can stop any kind of debris getting inside of it, which I'm probably gonna have to re-clean it anyways. But yeah, you know, you can see what I'm talking about. The more I get into it, the worse it gets. So obviously that just adds a lot of time. You know, it's just something that I can't just put a gasket on there. It's gonna fail. It's inevitable, and I'm not gonna put my name on there. No way. I don't do work like that. So if it takes longer, it takes longer. There's nothing much I can do about it, and it just is what it is. That's something I've had to just deal with and learn to just cope with, just even doing this on a full-time basis. That you're always going to come across something, especially in the automotive field, because everybody thinks that they are a professional. So because of that, everybody, you know, attempts to do it, and that's awesome. I'm glad that you attempt to do it. I'm glad that you have the confidence to do it. But one of the biggest things that I convey is do it right. You know, because car's not always going to be seen by you. It could be maintenanced by others, and being maintenanced by others, they're going to have to go in there in a maintenance fashion, and they want to do it in a quick way because they need to make money. You know, if this wasn't on my own free time and this was a customer job, right now I'd be billing more hours right now. That's just how it is. You know, hours are hours. You got to pay for that. But I agreed on a commission, you know, of trade, and that's fine. I ain't got a problem with that. You know, it's already, you know, if I were to build this job out, especially because of the fact that it's a full assembly, it being so much work into it, because basically when I came here, I thought it was going to be a quick job, you know, and it should have been a quick job, but because of a lot of things missing, you know, even now we need a full gasket kit just to be able to fix this. Even the last upload I had, there's a screw still in there. Last upload I had of the car, I showed that it needed gaskets, you know, especially like the exhaust manifold gaskets, etc. But it's just got to be gone through. It's got to be done right. This car's got 0 miles on it. He's trying to be able to go to shows and whatnot, he was saying. But with the amount of work being done to this car, or having to be done to this car, and sitting for 5 years, must I convey that this car has been sitting for 5 years. This is not going to be a quick job. You know, not at all. That's why I don't do deadlines. I can only tell you that I can try my best, you know, and then that's it. You know, I'm not going to give you a deadline. I'm not going to tell you. I mean, you can have wishful thinking and think that it's going to be done at a certain time, but that's not going to speed things up unless you're going to come help, you know, type deal. Alright, getting ready to pull the throttle body off now. Get that out of the way. Everything on here is like hardware store hardware. So I'm having to guess what most of the sizes are just to get this thing off type deal. Not the right OEM hardware throughout the entire engine, so that's probably going to be a failure point later down the road because I don't know the tensile strength of the threads for this versus the OEM hardware was tested in, yeah, it was proven versus this hardware store hardware. Not so much is it proven, so I don't know what it's made of, and it's certainly not grade 8, so I couldn't even tell you how well it's going to last, but again, it's just an assembly job. You know, he just wants it back together. He just wants to drive his car. It's been 5 years, but I can only do it to my best ability. It would cost him hundreds of dollars to replace all of the hardware on this car. You know, like even this bolt is like so long that it's got 2 washers to space it out for each one. It's just too long. That's the way this is, you know, it's the way this job is. It's fun. I like coming across this stuff. I like seeing the way people put stuff together. It's kind of silly sometimes, but I kind of enjoy it. You know, I mean, there's a bright side in this. It's not necessarily, you know, I learn and I get to see what not to do. How other people do it is it's comical to me. But I'm not saying only my way is the only way, because that's the wrong way to convey. That's not me. There are many ways to do things the right way. You know, as the saying goes, you got 10 mechanics, you got 10 different opinions of how it's done. That's true. Job always gets done though, doesn't it? So, usually, if you... Goodness gracious. Is this thing glued to the manifold? Let's see if I can massage this off. This leaf. Okay, give me a second. Wow. So I think the intake manifold gasket is deteriorated completely. And it's kind of glued to the gasket itself. So it's being a pain in the butt right now. Let's see if I can get it off. There we go. Money. Alright. Yeah, glued. Well, that gasket's shot. So there's another gasket that needs to be replaced. I mean, it's been 5 years. Not normally do gaskets last that long, especially on Subis, because majority of the time, Subarus are neglected. People think they're tanks. They think, well, I just drive it all year round. Yeah, but they forget about the maintenance part. Well, paper gasket. Look at the imprint on that thing. Look how deep that is. Damn. That's shot. That's delaminated. I mean, it probably could crush back down again and be fine, but oh no, it came off. There's a piece of it right here. So yeah, it delaminated from the backside. It won't even seal again. So that's junk. There's another junk gasket. So that, I mean, I have to let him know he's going to need an engine gasket kit, you know, and whatnot, which is fine because I've got some time. I got to paint this thing anyways. Still got to break it down. It takes time. Okay. Safety first. Make sure you got your eye protection. Make sure you got your, oh boy, respiratory protection, I guess you would say. Time to hog it down and get this thing ground down to the actual bare aluminum itself. I'm going to go ahead and use the paint stripper, and let's hope that they just sprayed it and they didn't put any of that shitty primer on there. It looks pretty relatively thin. I was kind of examining the chips and whatnot, and it's really hard to tell. It looks like it's just the paint, but so did the valve covers. So I guess, you know, it is what it is. Cross your fingers for me. Okay, well, there's a test strip real quick. You can already see it melting out of there, that primer, that layer that's actually being smeared right across this paint surface here. And you can see it. It's not dry. It's just like the valve covers. Shit. So I'm not going to vlog this part because, well, I mean, I don't even want to do it right now, but I got to. But of course, I'm sure you don't even want to watch it. So we're going to go ahead and skip to me, you know, after I work on this for a long time. This is going to take probably a few hours or so. I'm hopefully not that long. I'm hoping for at least under 3 hours, because that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time to put into this thing. Alright, it is the next day, and I worked until about 8:30, 9 o'clock last night, and I was able to get a decent amount stripped off. You know, I started majority underneath, trying to get in and, you know, around all these crevices. It's really hard to get in there, but I did my best. You know, of course, I'm going to have to get in there with my hands, you know, later on, especially in here, you know, with some sandpaper, get all this etched out, get it all smoothed down as best as possible. That way I can adhere some epoxy primer on top of this and actually get it coated. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on stripping it down and whatnot. You know, it's just one of those things where it's got to be done and it's got to get put in primer. So it is what it is, right? And today I'm in a much better mood. So I'm actually kind of excited to get that on, you know, and work on it. Actually, I got home last night and I was like, man, I kind of wish I had the energy to stay. I was just so tired yesterday. I mean, I'm sure you could see it with my attitude yesterday. I was pretty tired. So that is that's a tired Bill. Glad you got to see it. Stop it! Fuck you, Rain. Fuck you! Okay, so time to change my tactics, and I'm going to hit it with some 180 grit. You know, but what I've done is I've cut out little cylinders here for my little Mini here, and this is great for getting in a lot of these edges and whatnot. Basically the same, you know, fashion, but now we're going to step it to a 180 grit. You can see the difference here. I've already done right here. This is that shiny section here. So basically, long story short, I've got to go around and redo this entire intake manifold again because it's just too abrasive for me to be able to even apply primer to it. It's going to have too much soakage to the actual metal, and I would have to resand it all anyways in that fashion. So the best bet to do is just prep the product, prep the steel all ready before you even hit any primer to it, because it just makes for less work later down the road. There you go, so shiny it didn't even want to focus. So that's, in a nutshell, that's basically how you polish metal. You just start stepping it out, and before you know it, you're at the polish process. But at least this right here is a paintable, or excuse me, a primable surface, which is 180 grit, so I can actually go over this and prime it all out and whatnot. So that's what I'm going to do, is go around it and make sure everything is all hit and there's no heavy gouge marks and whatnot, because I did have to strip this a lot faster than I wanted to, just because it was gumming up, you know, in the past. But you can even still see that there's a lot of, you know, the pitting and still a lot of the little bumps that are left over from the OEM finish. So we're going to go ahead, sand those out, get this to a smooth finish so that I could base coat, clear coat this, and it all be smooth and not, you know, have all that OEM cast marks and whatnot, all those cast bumps that were in there. Alright, and as you can see, she's shiny. Got it all done. It's all in 180 grit, so now I can actually go through it and all the crevices and whatnot, especially like in here that I could not get the disc to. I'm going to have to do that by hand, so I'm going to do that all now. I'll, you know, finger fumble this whole thing again, and then I'll be ready to actually put some bare coat steel, you know, primer on here. I actually want to seal this up so that we don't have any corrosion issues. Now with the last final step done, I've gone in through all of the crevices and made sure everything was feathered out. Now we're going to do all the gasket services before we actually put this to a paintable surface. So we're going to go ahead and prep all of this surface area, as well as the throttle body surface area. I'm going to do it with a nice hard block, 180 grit sandpaper. We're going to deck this only in one direction only. Do not plane it. Don't cross your X's. One direction only. Same thing with here. Either start top to bottom. It's normally the way to do it. Keep it pressed down firmly. Nice and flat surface entire way. And then pay attention to your sand scratches. What portion is actually touching the metal and what's not. That way you don't have any high and low spots. That way you can actually get this to be correct and actually butt up nice and plumb. That way you're not going to have any gasket failures. So I've went ahead and I've done this side. You can see how uniform and everything it is with the 180 grit. I usually tend to just go in one direction, not back and forth. You know, kind of like this. Just kind of like I'm sharpening a knife in one uniform direction. It takes a little bit of time, but it's worth it, as you can see. And then the difference here, you can still see a lot of the low spots and whatnot. I went ahead and I went around with a quick disc and removed a lot of the paint that was excess on here. They had paint on the actual gasket surface, so that's a big no-no. You're going to have gasket failure because of that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish blocking it out to this surface so I can replicate here, and then I'll finish up the throttle body. Alright, I think it turned out pretty nice. So that's all nice and decked flat in one uniform direction. Same with the TGV gaskets. Everything looks nice and shiny, nice and flat and uniform, and is best my ability. Now the best thing to do now is run a straight edge over it and make sure everything's all uniform. Check your work. It's just like the tape measure where you measure twice and cut once. The same thing applies here. You do not want to have a warped edge. Okay, so I've already ran a straight edge over everything and ran the feeler gauge over it. Now I grabbed the very smallest, thinnest blade that I have possible, and as you can see, it's like foil. So if this doesn't pass underneath that blade and that straight edge, and you check it, you know, crisscross and whatnot, up and down, and that doesn't pass under there, it is flat. So now all I got to do is tape it all up, get it ready so that I can spray some sealer on that bare metal and get it all sealed right up. So now to jump on the valve covers, get those to a 180 finish, and these can be sealed up also at the same time.
Alright, I got everything all hogged out. It's all ready to go, so now I'm just going to go around all these edges, everything that obviously the machine couldn't get into. And I'm going to have to do it all by hand. So, again, a little bit more time, but we're almost there.
Alright, it's another day. And it's going to be a good day today because I get to put some parts into primer and paint today. Woo woo! So happy. We got them all done. They're all ready to go. I got them cleaned. That way I got them all sitting here ready for me to come in the morning. I'm just happy. Intake manifold's ready to go. The coolant reservoir is ready to go. It's nice Moroso. It's going to get painted. And as you can see, I've got nice free space finally. I got my buddy's car out. So this is awesome. I actually can do some painting today. So I'm going to wrap up this car. I'm going to wrap up this car. Wrap up everything, try and get it to where I don't have any overspray and whatnot, and yeah, we're gonna do this. So sorry guys, this is a long upload. I realized that already, but it was a lot to do. You know, those parts kicked my ass, and they don't normally generally do that. Normally I can get them broken down pretty quick, but it was just an inferior product that just wasn't, applied correctly, so I had a lot of time into these parts. So I'm playing the catch-up game right now, especially, for the sheer fact that I want to get the car done so I can get it off my lift and get it out of here. But what sucks is every time I keep working on it, it's always something. It's always something that was unexpected or, not scheduled for and whatnot. So that's basically where I am. There's a lot of explanation, I feel, in this upload just because it's probably just needed. I was going through it and just kind of getting an idea of where I was on a basis for this vlog and whatnot, and I feel there's just a lot that needs to be done for this car, and it was at a point where I thought that I could get it done on a relatively quick pace, but it's at that point where every time I work on it, again, it's always something that I have to correct or fix. So I'm just doing the game of coming in on my weekends and my spare time and staying late and trying to get it done for him. And it is what it is, you know. Sorry for the brightness right now. I gotta get some supplies out of my car and whatnot. Today is just another day to catch up and actually do it. It always puts me in a good mood when I can do some painting, because the prep work just takes so long. It tears my body up. It really does, you know, especially my hands. My hands are just not the same anymore. I either got carpal tunnel or I got arthritis or whatever it may be, but when you are sanding on a part, you know, such as so, you know, and even like these little intricate valve covers, and you know, and getting in there, you got to make sure that the paint is going to adhere correct. It's going to make you look bad down the road if you don't do so. And yeah, because of that, I got to make sure it's right. So I'm sorry if you're bored. That's basically where I'm at right now. That's the main reason why I'm kind of talking right now and trying to explain to you. I'm sorry. It's probably a boring upload, but it was a lot that needed to be done, and I feel like it needed to be vlogged and shared so you had a general idea of how far this build has come. And not just that, because of this car, I've really been neglecting the big car. You know, I mean, we're talking about, that's the car that, you know, keeps the lights on. That's a big shop build versus this car I'm trading for a blown up car. So it's all in preference right now. So it's basically, I got to get it done so I could preferably have a legacy GT wagon, and he could preferably have his car back done. But it's like this long entailed list. I'm just going to attack it as best as possible and vlog just as much as possible so that you guys can see the process of what it's like when a car sits for that long. You can get the general idea that it's not a good idea to just let something like that go to waste, or, you know, not necessarily just go to waste, but just sitting there in general. The elements are going to destroy it. The things are going to get to it. And not just that, he had some really faulty work done to this car. There was just so many things done, you know, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and check all that out on my channel. You know, I'm building this WRX wagon, and you'll be able to see exactly everything that I'm talking about. There's just so many things that I could probably write a book on what not to do with this car. But it's gonna get you right. We're gonna vlog it. We're gonna get it to where it's okay. He can go down the road in a safe fashion, and he's happy with it. You know, again, it's just an assembly job, so that's where I am with it. I'm just trying to do my best. Other than the paint work, you know, which I'm charging him for, he's paying for everything out of his pocket, anything that's needed. Now I got to get a hold of him and let him know that he needs an array of gaskets, you know, especially for this engine. Today, I'm focusing on getting all the paint work done. So as long as I get all the paint work done today, that means assembly tomorrow, you know, so that's awesome. So, I mean, that's easy work. Today's Saturday. It's Saturday morning for me. I'm here bright and early. I'm going to get this done. It's nice. And, yeah, that makes a nice, easy Sunday for me to where I can just come in. I can probably do a little bit of wet sand and buffing, you know, because there's going to be a little bit of probably dirt nibs, dust nibs, and whatnot. It just is what it is, especially because the ventilation in my shop is not that great or ideal. But, yeah, with that said, it's time to do some painting. I'm going to throw some music in there. That way you can get me to shut up type deal.
Looking in a distance and dreaming of a world for us. When the moon's alive, we'll map out a journey for you and I. For you and I. In the night, I'm alone. Without you, I'm drifting out. When you take my hand, I'm so high up, I'll never land. I'll never land. I'll never land.
Everybody wanna be on top. I don't think they know what that means. Once you get there, then you can't stop. Everybody gunning for your spot, aiming at your team. I'm up all night, chasing dreams. Everything changed when you go from seeing it on big screen to behind the scenes. Leading the song like it's the light they lead, huh? You know the rich and famous kill theyself to stay rich and famous. Very same thing that they built their name with, be the same thing that they be enslaved with. So I don't want rap, you can have that. I don't want the crown, yo, I'm aiming past that. Headed for another throne, can't have that. This a kingdom where my dad's at, and I'm his son. My sing gun, so death won't have that last laugh. Child of a king, royalty, that's ass cap. They want glory, money, and power before you go. I promise you it's empty, we aiming just way too low. I know we own things we don't need to impress people we don't know. That we go broke trying to look rich, I can't do it, I just want. My new goal is to be close to the one that made my soul, man. Them other highs gon' let you down, I'm trying to get so high I'll never land. No,
I'm alone. Without you, I'm drifting low. When you take my hand, I'm so high up, I'll never land. I'll never land. I'll never land. I'll never land. And I'll never land.
I am Rufio with the ripped jeans, Cool Mo with the 16s. In the studio, Michelangelo with a microphone, writing 16s. But these songs ain't for the chapel. Try to build with others, your own attack you. Try to be a light and they blowing the match you lit. Can't use a shotgun to catch a fish, I'm on. Using a different tactic, come with your boom Baptist. Look at this rap cat with glasses, cooking the track. And every time I look at my past, I laugh like, you know where I should've been at? Nowadays, I just wanna make it classic. Trying to set the bar way above the average. Then smash that for the glory of God. And do rappers like Apple, leaving without jobs. Sitting on the writer's block, penning everything that I've been in and out of ever since the album dropped. Things change, get the feeling they won't stop. I don't wanna grow up, never land, got no clocks. But let me give them bars and no shots to catch up. I got a message about a blessing, but it's written in cursive. You're gonna face death, I know the one to reverse it. Listen, when I say I get so high, I ain't even talking about sticky, no lie. The way up is down, stay low to the ground and you close to the clouds. Listen, when I say I get so high, I ain't even talking about sticky, no lie. The way up is down, stay low to the ground and you close to the clouds. For real though,
I'm alone. Without you, I'm drifting low. When you take my hand, I'm so high up, I'll never land.
Holy shit, the hard part is done. Alright, it's a new day. I'm kind of happy because I got all those parts done. I allowed them to flash off, dry, and whatnot. So they're cured, they're ready to go. I'm here bright and early, I'm ready to paint. I'm super happy. This is the things that make me happy, are the paint times. I love painting. It usually takes a long time to get to that point, but hey, what are you gonna do? So, especially in this instance, you saw through the entire process, there was a lot to be done, you know, with having to clean them all down to the bare metal, and then having to basically prep it from there just so that we could put any kind of primer or filler on there. You know, a lot of sanding has been done, especially, you know, we had to remove all the product and we had to sand all of the metal down to a smooth surface so that there wasn't any of the, you know, the cast marks and the cast bumps and whatnot. We basically got rid of those and, you know, just utilized our sander really well. So that was the best thing to do, is we went around it with 180 grit. That's how we got to that portion. Now we put it all in primer, or sealer, excuse me, bare metal sealer, and then I put a 2K primer over that so that I can sand into that, because the epoxy primer is not going to allow me to sand into it. Normally you're going to have to wet sand that and not dry sand it, and I want to be able to have some kind of shrinking going on, so that was the main reason why I wanted to seal it and to prime it. So if there was any sand scratches or gouges or anything that I did want to fill, I could do that with the 2K primer, and that's exactly what I did. So with that said, I let everything flash. I let all the solvents escape like they're supposed to, just like the can says to. So really you should give it a good 24 hours for everything to actually escape the proper way, so that I can then hit it with sandpaper. Now we're going to go straight to a paint preppable surface, and in order to do that, we're going to have to sand it all by hand majority, because you can't run a flat sander on a curved surface. So you're just going to put flat spots in there. So a lot of this is going to be with this. So that's time. It is what it is, but I'm actually excited because I know that once I get all that sanded down and everything is all smooth, then I can move on to my favorite part.
Yeah, it probably only takes about 5-10 minutes to actually lay some paint down and whatnot. You know, I think it takes a lot longer just to mix it up and get everything ready so that I can paint for 5 minutes. It's part of the job. It's one of those things that you should know it's going to happen. You know, so also when you get into that, don't think that that 5 minutes is going to be a not stressful 5 minutes. It's a very stressful 5 minutes, you know, so you're going to want to make sure you do it right, make sure it's done correctly. You don't want to have runs and whatnot, because a lot of people really don't know how to attack on a run after and whatnot. They usually tend to freak out that, you know, they see it running. Just let it cure up, let it harden. A lot of times you can denib it or block it down and whatnot, especially with your hands. You just take your time and slowly, methodically work that area. So without talking your head off too much, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sand that out. And I'm also extremely happy because the gaskets actually came in today. I went ahead and just ordered a full engine gasket kit. You know, that engine needed it. I've been through a few uploads now, and I've stated that basically everything I've come across has been ruined. You know, and there's still some, and that will be in this upload also as well, that are just, they needed to be stated that they're gone, and it is what it is. So that's what I did. I just went ahead and did that. It took me about, I think it was 5 days, so about a week for the gaskets to come in. I like following this seller that I buy a lot of stuff on eBay with, because he'll tend to put these kits together, and it's all OEM gaskets. So that's actually great, because once I get these all painted, I can let these cure, and then the next day I could probably start doing some assembly as long as I have the time to do so. But again, you know, I still got to work on the big car, you know, because business is business, you know, so it is what it is. That's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to try and work as much as I can today while I have the free time. And yeah, I'm rambling. All right, so I got everything all here. It's all set out. So what we're going to do now is just sand everything out with a 400 grit, and then probably step it right out to a either 500 grit sandpaper. I like 500 grit because I can buy it in a wet sand form, so I can actually wet sand all this out with a 500 grit, and it'll give me a really smooth finish and not give me a lot of orange peel, because, you know, that just makes a lot of work for sanding later for the actual clear coat surface itself. So know that once you do paint over this primer, you want this to be as flat as possible so that the paint itself can lay flat as possible. So if it's got orange peel in it and you lay paint over the orange peel, paint does not fill. It's just going to lay right over the orange peel, and it's actually going to build up and give you more of an orange peel finish. And then when you do finally get to the clear coat finish, your orange peel will be awful dramatic, and you will have to deck all that down. And by decking all that orange peel surface down, you are actually decreasing the mill thickness of the clear. So you want this to be as flat as glass. And when I say flat as glass, I mean it. You are supposed to deck this all down nice and flat. Take the time to do so. So what I like to do is I like to go around in all of the hard areas first. Always attack the hard first. So when you're finishing the job, it's all easy, and it just seems like you see that finish line a lot faster versus, man, the last thing on the checklist is the hardest damn thing. Who wants to build cars like that? Get the hard done first. So that's how I've always attacked it. I like to do the hard first. So make sure you go around all these crevices, make sure everything is done, because if it's not scuffed, you're not going to have proper paint adhesion. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to run around everything with a 400 grit dry sandpaper. I'm going to make sure everything is decked, and then I'm going to go around it, and every flat surface that you see, I will then deck it flat. I will, block it flat, I should say, instead of decking. When you say decking, that's normally when you think about these gaskets, which we've already done. We've already decked all of the gaskets already, which you've already seen. And that was also another thing that needed to be done, because whoever painted these before had painted the gasket surfaces, which, again, added more time to where I had to take them off, I had to deck it, and then I had to straight edge it and whatnot. And I ended up filming and vlogging the entire process so that you could see exactly what was done and why it was done. So, again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move on and start sanding these out and see if we can get a little bit more music in here, because I feel like this upload is probably really long by now.
lies, unsung and lost, invisible to history. Embedded spies, brainwashing our children to be mean.